Hashem Svasai Tiftach Ufi Agitilasacha. We're now in the 9th parak of Hoshea. This is not a very easy parak. Good news is that by the time we get to the 14th parak of Hoshea, we're going to be in the positive again. But here, again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is upset with Klal Yisrael. And when Hashem is upset with Klal Yisrael, it's painful, but Hashem's pain, you feel it. You feel that Hashem, he's speaking in pain. He's speaking to us, the people whom he loves, in a way that suggests and highlights that he cares. The worst type of relationship is a relationship where there's no feeling left, where there's no frustration that is expressed, that it's just pure Hester Panim and silence with the point of there's no caring. Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu through the Navi is saying, I am hurt. I'm hurt and I'm acting out what you deserve and what will ultimately help this hurt, but there is still a sense that Hashem in the background is hurt. So he starts off the parak, Al tismach Yisrael el gil ka'amim. Don't Yisrael, do not be rejoicing like the other nations, like they rejoice. And there's a lot of different ways that you can explain this. Either when you throw a party with ruchnius. Don't just throw a party like the other nations where it is just to be merry. And second, the goyim, when they're happy because that's their mazel. But that's when in this situation, that's not yours. You don't have the same mazel liYisrael. And so your happiness should not be combined with theirs. And third of all, it brings us back to the idea of this is not the time to be happy. Just like when the Purim story, one of the things that Hashem was very angry about was that they were having a party with Achashverosh. This is not, you're in Gullus. There's, it reminds me of, the beautiful weddings. And then there's that moment of Im Eshkachech Yerushalayim, or more recently they do for the Chayalim. Our parties, like they're never going to be in their fullest completion as long as we're in Galus and we don't have the Beis Hamikdash. Ki zanita ma'al elokecha, because you did znus again from your Hashem. Ahavta et nan al kol garnot dagan. Rather, the Goyim, when they made a party, they would have a lot of their wheat and all of their produce, and what happened was the harlots would come to try to get paid for their services, and that's where they had the opportunity to get paid. And so this is that's the kind of party that that we're referring to, that you are part of that, and that's not okay. And there's no coming back from something where you are also taking your garon, your everything that you have, and you are using it in the opposite form. Hashem gives you everything, and you should be using your dagan, your wine, all of your things for the positive, but rather you're not. And instead, you're using it for the opposite. And Hashem despises that. It's such a slap in the face when we take something that we're given, and not only do we not use it effectively, but we use it in the opposite way to get back at the person who gave it to us. And so it's like a double whammy. It's a lahaches, like I'm doing it and I don't even care that you are the one that gave it to me and you're getting hurt by it. And v'lo yeshvu be'eretz Hashem, because you're not going to be living in Eretz Yisrael, b'shav Ephraim Mitzrayim, or Ashur Tima Yacholu, but rather you're going to be in Ashur and in Mitzrayim, and by your own making, because you're going to try to get there, right? And we know that Yirmiyahu, we don't exactly know what happened to him, but if he ever came out of Egypt, but essentially he went down with some of the people to Egypt, but it's just representing the idea that you go into Gullus and you think that it's going to be a happy, feastful time. It's not going to be. You're not going to be feasting. It's not going to be happy. And the Meshech Chochmah actually prophesied and mentioned that Berlin, that during the time of the Holocaust, was like the Yerushalayim, that they gave it such credence and such and such respect, and that just led to ultimately to disaster. And Hashem yayin, and you didn't pour out the wine that Hashem gave it not to him, and the sacrifices therefore are going to be kalechem onim. It's going to be like, this happy times you're describing. The meals that you're going to be having are going to be like you're in mourning. And the people that eat them. So what happens? A mourner is tamei lamis. He's tamei because he was exposed to a dead body. But here, because you're defiled, Hashem, then anyone that you eat with is also going to be defiled, and it's just going to be a never-ending cycle where there's nothing going to be good. And so I don't want it, labo labis Hashem. I don't need this. Matasu liyom mo'ed liyom chag Hashem. What are you going to do on the appointed day, and for the day of because it's Chag LaHashem. Again, speaking about the Yamim Tovim, what you do, we have halachos of how to do a yantif in the correct form. And the halachos go that you give kids candy and nuts, you give wives, I love this one, you give wives clothing, men take meat. Like, there are ways that you could be makadesh the yom, but you're not doing that. And most importantly is that when you do a simchas yantif, it should be with other people. It shouldn't just be, yes, if it's going to be your family, that's fine, that's good, but go outside of yourself. And so here, there's not going to be that opportunity because there's no more moed to Hashem. And you're going to be ultimately, all of your money and all of the things that you have are going to be taken away from you because you went to Ashur, you went to Mitzrayim, you gave them the gifts, and you thought that they were going to help you, but most tikkabrahim, they are going to bury you, and the treasure houses that you've had are going to be for nothing. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is very harsh because Hashem says, I literally gave you everything, and not only that, I gave you Nevi'im. And these Nevi'im, you thought that they were nuts, Meshaga'im, Navi Meshaga'ish. But really, they were the real ones. And instead, you went according to the Nevi'im that were not good. So for Ephraim, the Im Elohai, Navi Pach Yakush, Al Kol Drachav Mishtema B'Beis Elohav. That really, they're the ones, the Nevi'im that you respected, they caused you not to be able to be, to go in the right ways and to service Hashem. Now, we now have a reference, Hemiku Shitemo Kemo Keyamei HaGiva. We have a reference to Giva. What happened in Giva? So either the Bnei Yisrael were at their lowest self with the Pelegish Begiva story where there was like a gang rape of someone and a lot of Binyamin died. It was a disaster. Or what happened ultimately is that Hashem was not happy with us asking for a king when we did. We had 14 years in Eretz Yisrael, and we were supposed to wait until we had David HaMelech. And when we asked for it prematurely, it never ended up doing us justice. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu here reprimands the people, and he says that you corrupted yourselves from the day of Gibeah. So either, again, going all the way back to Pelegish, or from the time that you wanted a king, that you moved in the direction of wanting Kishavtinu Kachol HaGoyim, like all the other nations, and that just allowed for there to be a opening in sin. The last part of the Perek is by a lot of ways, possibly one of the harshest words. So I'm not going to go deeply into it because it's very, very harsh. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu starts off by saying, you were like grapes in a midbar. There was everything. You were unique to me, and you loved me, and you went into the midbar. Zacharti l'chesed ne'orayach. In your youth, you just went into the midbar, be'eretz lo zerua, and you followed me there. And it was some beautiful love story that we had. But what happened? That was in the beginning. But then, right away, there was Baal Peor. And right away, you did bad. And right away, you became detestable from being this loved nation to being detestable. And so, if that's what happened right in the midbar, then Kal V'chomer, do you see what you're up to now? Do you see how bad things are? And you see how much when I detested you then, how much I detest you now? Ephraim is like a bird, and we've mentioned this before. It can soar up to this, and it can lead to such kavod and respect and to the highest level. But Hashem says, no, Ephraim, their honor is going to fly away like a bird. And ultimately, it's going to be better for people to have never been born, that women were unsuccessful in their pregnancies, and that it would and people don't raise their children, because raising their children is going to lead to death and destruction and despair. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises that I am going to continue this wiping out. I'm going to wipe out all the people. I'm going to have women who and people who are yearning to come back into the womb, but I'm not going to bring them there. And ultimately, it is because of what you did. You were rebellious, and I tried as best as I can. And so now the root is dry, and it's not going to produce fruit. And if it does produce fruit, the fruit are going to be rotten. They're not going to be good. And I'm rejecting you, says Hashem, because of what you did. You wandered into the other nations. You took every bracha that I gave you, and you flipped it, not for the good, but you used it to ultimately get me upset and not do what's right. And so what we see from here is that Hashem really does love us. He's so hurt by our behavior, and he doesn't want to do this, but he has to. He has to take away our Yomim Tovim to reteach us what true simcha is. He has to take away our families to teach us what the value is of family. He has to take away all of our wealth and the land, the beautiful, precious land that was supposed to be Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, that was where we're supposed to suckle the milk. When we look to suckle, Hashem is like, no, I'm not going to give that to you, because you never appreciated the milk that I gave you in the first place. So it's a humbling parak. It's a parak that understands that we have to appreciate what we have and use it in the right ways. Use our families, our yontifs, our lives to do what's right and to find purpose in it. And when we do that, then we're bringing up everything that we've given, and it shows the love that we have for Hashem and an appreciation of what we have in our lives. If not, Hashem says, it's a slap in the face. And if you want to be slapped, I know how to slap. And so for that, hopefully, we will get to some nice messages soon.